to this ROVER Project first webinar, Future Secure Health Architecture. And I will show you some opening words. My name is Matti Hämäläinen. I'm coming from University of Oulu, Center for Wireless Communications. And the ROVER project is reliable technologies and models for verified wireless body-centric transmission and localization. And this is Marie Sklodowska-Curie Action for Research and Innovation Staff Exchange RISE project. And this webinar will be recorded and will be later available at ROVER website. You can see on the slide. ROVER project includes partners from Europe. We have University of Oulu as a project coordinator. Then we have University of Florence, London South Bank University, Oslo University Hospital, JSP Solutions, LROS 24/7, and UPT as a European partners. Then we have third country partners, Yokohama National University, University of Technology, Sydney, Asian Institute of Technology from Thailand, Worcester Polytechnic Institute from USA, Oulu University Research Institute in Japan, and University of Nebraska Lincoln. And you can see the partner countries in the slide. So the goal of this RISE project is to make it possible to have a secondments between research staff independently on their career status. Some practical issues. You can ask questions in the QA window at any time, but the dedicated QA session will take place at the end of the webinar. And please note, as I mentioned, this webinar will be recorded and will be put available to ROVER website later on. You can also follow us in addition to our website. We are available in LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. So the program of this webinar is shown here in this slide. We have 8 talks, and now I would like to give floor to project coordinator Professor Jari Iinatti from University of Oulu, and he will describe end-to-end eHealth architecture relating to ROVER project.
Welcome on my behalf, and as Matti told, my name is Jari Iinatti, and my talk is to represent something about end-to-end eHealth architecture and basically how ROVER architecture relates on that. And what kind of architecture we have in system level when we are talking about these eHealth and health-related systems looks like this. So we see that there are basically 6 components from sensing and actuation, communication, data analytics, electrical health record, health services, and finally the user interfaces. And basically we can represent it as a very complex entity, and it should be work very seamlessly interoperable way from these different tasks what there are. And of course, in order to be working well, there should be enough performance, reliability, scalability, it should be cost efficient, and of course privacy and security is the most important issue. We are talking about wireless issues in this project, as we saw from Matti's presentation, and that's why we are mainly reflecting on wireless system level architecture, which means that there are these wireless components, but of course there are different types of computational issues in edge, utilizing AI, for example, machine learning type, and then blockchain is used for security issues. And for these user interfaces later on, the whole architecture includes VR and AR type visualization for the patients. The main idea is how we get the information from the patient visible for the healthcare personnel in very reliable way from these health service entities. And many times when we take a look on the architecture, we see term tier, and it can be finalized and defined in different ways. So basically, where we do this service, is it local, which means that it's very close to the person from which the information is get, or is it done by somewhere in the edge, so some locally, not so locally as is this local service, but in some entity, for example, in some hospital, for example. So it's utilized edge type service, or globally, so that the information is available everywhere. And another way where we pop up this tier type issue is the communication, from which type of elements we have the communication. So in the close vicinity of a person, we can talk about this tier 1. If we go to further from that, we end up to tier 2, and finally to the final destination, the last tier. So there are several ways how we can define these links and services in the architecture point of view. And basically, when we come to the rover, we notice the vision, which is seamless, dependable, energy efficient, and secure system architecture for wireless in and on-body communication. It means that the components, what we have and what reflects to the architecture in the previous pages are reflected from this vision. And basically, we have 6 basic elements in the architecture of rover, which are listed here in this red one. And what they have in those, we can call those as enablers for this architecture. So the communication is one of the enabler, and what we have as a solution from that, it gives us the solution from body sensor to the hub, and from hub to cloud. So what is needed in the communication side of that? Physical layer system design gives in our project the radar-based non-invasive medical detection type issues, as well as the antenna design and related signal processing of these very low power signals. Then we have the security issues, light security mechanism, which gives us this privacy and security from source to the final destination, in a way that it has went through the all gateways, intermediate nodes, what we have here in this system. And that includes novel physical layer security and, for example, blockchain technology, which we will hear later on more. Then one enabler is this molecular and nanocommunication issues. And from that point of view, we end up to the analytical models, mapping biological communication to evaluate the performance of the system. And we would like to find new way to establish communication links as well. Then we have this non-invasive healthcare monitoring, and that gives us propagation models of inside body. And we should keep in mind that there is a large propagation loss, and we should take that into account. And finally, we would like to have this location of the implants with very high precision at the output. And finally, we have this data processing, storage, and access. And what we end up from there is the solutions for secure exchange, storage, and processing of the health data. And in that sense, we end up to machine learning and AI type analysis of this classification of this data. So basically what we have in ROVER architecture, they all are enablers for this system overview of this digital healthcare. And what we can represent that the whole system in different ways, as we have examples in this this picture from different parts. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jari, for the short introduction of the whole ROVER concept. And now we are going to hear visions what our partners will have. I have to remind you that not all the partners are presenting their views today. We are going to organize webinars later on, so don't be worried about that. You don't hear all the speeches. So our next speaker is Professor Lorenzo Mucchi from University of Florence. So Lorenzo, please, floor is yours.
Thank you, Matti. Okay, so I'm Lorenzo Mucchi. I'm an associate professor at the University of Florence, and I'm talking today about security and privacy protection, in particular in the healthcare domain of the future. So basically what I'm going to show you is the activities in ROVER that the ROVER project just envisioned to propose a solution for the health issues in the future. This presentation is then will show you a blockchain particular project developed with Duccio Micela, which is the co-author of this presentation, from JSB Solution, which is another partner of the ROVER project. So basically the motivation for the future healthcare is that every person will interact for the entire life with the healthcare system. So, and even if there's not a disease, there's not a chronic disease to manage, checkup are envisioned to be for all your life, just to keep health or keep monitoring of your health. So basically, the interaction with the healthcare is particularly important for keeping health individuals. So, and if you correlate this with the basically with the increasing population globally, and also that the aging of the population is increasing. For example, in Italy, we have 35% of the population which is over 65, and this population, which is more than 20 million of people, 1/2 has at least one chronic disease, so to manage, for example. And these people just collect together, are responsible of basically half of the hospitalization days and related costs. So if you put together everything, so the cost of the healthcare system will be so much that you need something you need a roadmap to a new kind of medicine if you want to keep health all the population in the future. So basically, there's a need of the roadmap to move the old medicine to a new medicine, which basically means that you use all the technology advances in mobile connectivity, Internet of Things, computing power, imaging, and so on, wireless sensors, and so on, and data analysis, of course. Or you use all the advances in this technology to move the old medicine toward a new kind of medicine, which basically means a basilar role of the ICT world. So in the future, probably you don't think only to cure a disease, but to prevent the aging effect not only to alarm, to get an alarm when something is getting chronical, it's getting worse and worse, but you want a virtual coach to keep health of each citizen. And you don't only deals with like organic health, but also the social part, psychological and social part of the citizen is very important. So to do everything like this, of course, you cannot do all this without ICTs. So basically, ICTs is very important. And ICTs means communication, for example, from very inside the body, or wearable sensors, so molecular, like biological or artificial nano devices inside the body, to wearable sensor on your body that collect every time, every minute, to collect some information about your health and your lifestyle. And this body layer just connect and has a dialogue with smart environment, which collect also some other kind of information about your body and your behaviors and so on. And there's also another communication with the cloud layer, where the data just goes for a long time storage and data analysis. Everything will be driven by artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence, fog computing, as you saw from Jari's presentation, will driven this all these information movements. So basically, this is very impressive, but is it also secure? So that's the question we want to answer. Is it secure, all this? Because basically you will have a huge amount of health data which flows every day wirelessly. So wirelessly means that this data, which are very sensitive, can be taken, can be blocked, or fake data can be injected. Just think about that. For example, a pacemaker can be misconfigured by one hacker, for example, or artificial intelligence decision can be altered, for example. An automatic pump injecting, for example, insulin in the body can be misconfigured. So this insulin, the amount of insulin is not can be not healthy for the body, but can be bad, for example. So we want to, the question we want to answer is how I can secure such a low complex device, because body networks, body sensors, in body and on body sensor means typically they are very low complex devices. So which means that the low computational power, low memory, low sites memory, and so on. So how can I secure this kind of devices? Because they should be secure, unless people doesn't trust the service. And how can I create a privacy uniform domain? Okay, when I move through heterogeneous networks. So in the future, I will move through a different kind of networks. Okay, so for example, from femtocell to picocell to macrocell. So how can I have a stable security level anytime, anywhere? So that's the question. So additional consideration is about people using this kind of telemedicine, of body sensor, that the rover just addressed. So people don't know how to use it. So education is another point. Education to security is another really strong point that we should take into account. And another thing is that what people like doctors and patients think about remote monitoring of health. So from the point of view of the doctors, they don't want to know that somehow they don't want to work 24/7. So they don't want to know that during they are at home, maybe having dinner. They don't want to know that one patient is badly has a bad health problem, so they need to react, of course, if they know this. And patients, they don't want to be followed every time, so 24/7, even in the bathroom, okay? So they are afraid somehow of this big brother. So another thing is that citizens, they want to know where their data are, okay? Where is my data? Who has access to my data? How can I can get the control of my data, okay? And of course, is it secure? Everything is secure. Can I trust the system? So that's additional consideration that people usually, the end user usually have about the future e-health. So from thinking about the COVID situation, so what is the lesson learned? So we know that ICTs are required for prevention of critical evolution of the pandemic, as a quick response and management of the intensive therapy ward in the hospitals, as contact and infection tracking. For example, in Italy, the Immuni application, which is the for tracking of contact between people, it was a failure. Why it's a failure? Because they don't trust the application. So people don't trust this application, which is for the health, but they trust the social networks where they put everything about their lives. So there's something wrong about this. So probably education is needed to also, together with the design of this new roadmap for the new medicine, there's also education is needed to education to security. So basically the solution provided by the ROVER project are physical layer security, and like cryptography, artificial intelligence-based detection of an attack, and also blockchain. So today we are talking about blockchain, which is developed together with JSB Solutions. So what blockchain can do for healthcare? So blockchain can do many things for healthcare, starting from data integrity to transparency, traceability of health actions, to simplification of pricing, for example, and also about privacy policy management. Basically, which is the architecture, how to use blockchain for healthcare. Basically, since the amount of data is really huge, so you cannot put every data transaction into the blockchain. So basically, all the data goes into a data lake, but the location of the data of that patient, of that individual, goes into the blockchain. So only the location goes here into the blockchain, while the data are into the data lake, which is basically an encrypted database. So you put everything here. So from visit of a doctor to, for example, laboratory results, prescriptions, everything which is related to one patient, okay? So in this way, basically the user the patient can use, for example, his mobile phone to provide authorization to access the health data to a sanitary operator. So like a medic or a nurse, community nurse, can have the can have authorization to access the data. So after authorization of the patient, so the sanitary operator can go to the blockchain and ask for the health record of the patient. And after a check of authorization, you can recover the location of the data of the health record from the data lake. So what this provide you? This provide you a control over the data of the patient. So the patient has control of the data, or who has access to the data. an adversary cannot pose as the user, cannot pose as the user or corrupt the network, because even if the data lake is corrupted, there's no possible, the blockchain can detect that something is wrong, because the location is not anymore, is not the location is not the same in the blockchain and in the data lake. So there's an hash function that just control that the data stored in the blockchain and in the data lake are the same. Okay, and okay, so this is a real implementation. What we have done.
1 minute,
now.
Lorenzo.
Yes. Yeah.
1 minute.
I'm concluding. Yeah, very quickly. So basically what we have done. So we have provided the user, so patient and caregiver, as well as doctor or nurse, with an application where you can put any analysis that any checkup that the patient can do, any checkup or vital parameter. So basically you have one database that collect identity of the patient, and another database which collect the anonymous health data. So you write into a smart contract which is stored in the blockchain. You write down all the vital parameter, but not of course, not the identity of the user. So this smart contract goes into a private blockchain here. So in this way, you can use the blockchain to provide data integrity, no repudiation. So every action done on the patient by sanitary operator cannot be repudiated, for example. You can have perfect access control to the data of the patient, and you can also have privacy protection, because there's no way, in order to know the identity of the patient, you should attack the blockchain, which is not easy to crack. Okay, so this is a real contribution of University of Florence together with JSB solution for the use of blockchain for protecting the privacy of the users. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Lorenzo. As you mentioned, security and privacy is very important topic in the healthcare-related issues. So now we are going forward to our next talk given by Rana from London Southbank University, and he will discuss about microwave imaging and integrated intelligence. So Rana, please, screen is yours.
So, hello everyone. I'll talk about the microwave imaging and integrated intelligence new modalities. I'm Soma Prakash Rana, and I work as a research fellow in London Southbank University. And so, as ROVER intends to propose the wearables and non-wearables to help the future healthcare systems, and it actually considers the end user satisfaction and the commercial outcomes. So, which also focuses on the monitoring of the healthcare, automated classification of patients, and the decision making and automated process for the healthcare system. So I'll start with the why do we want to adopt AI and what we have done so far through the ROVER platform and the MammoWave, which is the new modality of the microwave imaging for cancer detection, how we have integrated the AI with that, the algorithms and the performance we have achieved so far. So why do we use the AI? AI basically we use to save time, money, perform the huge task which actually needs the human intelligence, which can be done through the machines in a small time complexity. So basically in AI, we mimics the human intelligence through the machine to perform the large scale task. And for this one, we need the huge amount of data, enormous data we need, because we have to make the algorithms to perform the task. There is some phase for training and testing. So the training phase, the algorithm will learn about the human actions for the input, the output, all these things. So, but the SMEs, like there are three sectors are connected here, like the academic, the SMEs, the industry part, and the healthcare sectors. So in through the university, we have the data access and all these things, whereas the SMEs have a good platform, and the university can share their research and knowledge sharing. So, and that's where the rover brings a new paradigms in healthcare from the physical layer using microwave imaging and the molecular computation to AI platforms done through SME and the university collaboration. So it's a great platform to collaborate with the SMEs, universities, and at the end, we expect that the future health sector will be benefited through this collaboration. So there are some existing diagnostic systems. Like there are so many diagnostic modalities are there: the imaging, the genetic, and the technological sensor, and all these things. For the diagnostic imaging, there are particularly very popular one is the X-ray, CT, MRI, 3D mammography, DEXA scan, ultrasound, and PET. So, but the thing is, X-ray uses a high energy beam, which is not consumed by the bones and some other organs from where we create the images. CT also uses the platform of X-ray. MRI uses the strong magnetic field to create the diagnostic images, where 3D mammography also uses the CT. The DEXA scan uses like it's mostly used for the osteoporosis, and the ultrasound uses sound instead of microwave or any wave. And PET is uses for to check the blood flow and the oxygen flow by injecting some liquid in our body, so that we can check the pathway of the blood and the oxygen. But except the ultrasound and MRI, all these modalities are ionizing. It has the bad effect on the patients, on the health in the long term. So here is the new image modality, which is the MammoWave, and thanks to UBT, I'm closely working with UBT, and UBT has created the MammoWave, which is a non-ionizing, safe, and non-invasive screening technology for the breast cancer, where in the left hand side we can see the MammoWave device, which consists a hub with a small anechoic chamber, and inside that there is a cup to hold the breast, and the antennas, the receiver and the transmission antenna, which like transmits and receives the dielectric response of the breasts, and it makes the breast imaging, which is totally safe. It can be used for more than once, and there is no health harm for patients. So here how it looks like. Basically, this is an example of MammoWave image, and you can see the spherical part is the breast cup, basically, where the MammoWave device holds the breast, And it's an example of from a patient's left breast, which is ACR4 type. That means the breast is highly dense, and which consists around 75 to 100% fibrogranular tissues. And here is one lesion. In this case, one lesion has been found through the radiological studies, which is 1.6 millimeter, which exists in the upper portion of the breast. So it's a arbitrary image which is created through the Huygens principle, through the received microwave response from the breasts. So this is how it looks through the mammowave imaging. So what we are doing now, so there are two parallel phases. One phase confirms the breast condition of the patients, the radiological studies, and the other phase is our phase, which is the mammowave and the artificial intelligence integration. So when the patients are recruited, they are going through the gold standard or the radiological study, where we create the knowledge base which has been used in our AI integration, and so that we can classify the breast condition, and which will be a safe diagnosis for the patients. And then we make the comparison between the radiological study and the mammowave's AI integrations output. So here is a data distribution of the mammowave signals basically, and it shows the distribution which has been used to choose our classifier to classify the breast type. It's basically, we can easily see that this is not totally non-linearly separable. You can't separate the the two type of points, which is the blue one is basically comes from the healthy breasts, and the yellow one is coming from the lesion or the cancerous tissues or cancerous breasts. So that's why we choose different non-linear classifiers. So we started with the KNN, which is the K nearest neighbor multi-layer perceptron support vector machines with to classify the patients. The KNN is the simplest one, which basically which uses the similarity and dissimilarity of the Euclidean space to detect the pattern, to classify the pattern. Whereas the support vector machine is very powerful for its nonlinear classification approach, and it includes different kernels: the quantitative kernel, the Gaussian kernel, the linear kernel. And MLP is definitely a neural network structure, complex neural network structure, or we can say it's a preliminary stage of the deep learning, which is a very popular domain of AI. So that's what we have achieved. So this is the right hand side images are the sensitivity and specificity outcomes of the first experiment, which like there in the x-axis there are different classifiers: the nearest neighbor, MLP, SVMs. So and the bottom one consists the specificity achieved from the same classifiers, which is the sensitivity is more than almost 96.95%, and whereas the specificity is 99.65, which means we can detect the cancerous backscattered signals 96.95% times, but the healthy signals, the signals which backscattered from the healthy tissues or the healthy breasts, we can classify 99.65% correctly. So basically we we face the problem where the lesions are very small, like as I shown 1.6 millimeter of lesions, which has a very similar property in terms of dielectric constant with the healthy tissues. That's where the problem occurs. So we can detect the healthy tissues with a very high accuracy, whereas we are facing some problem with the lesion signals or the cancerous the backscatter signals from the cancer tissues. However, it will reduce the false positive, which is a drawbacks of the X-ray or the mammography, and it will definitely reduce the overdiagnosis in the cancer treatment. Also, it will improve the diagnosis as well as the prognosis in the healthcare system. So, and the first part has been published, and
1 minute, please.
Yeah, and the second work we have communicated, and that is under review. And thank you all, and thanks to the ROVER platform and all the participants and collaborators.
Okay, thank you, Sonia, for interesting discussion about the microwave imaging, and we will continue within this topic, and we will give a floor to Gianluigi Tiberi from UPT Technologies. And
yes,
screen is now yours.
Okay. Yes, thank you to everybody, and thanks to Shuma for having introduced the collaboration between UBT and LSBU. I will now talk a little bit more about the device that we developed, MammoWave, trying to highlight both the benefit of being into ROVER consortium and of the benefit with LSBU collaboration and the impact that this device can have in the future healthcare. So our company, it's a small biomedical company founded in 2015. And obviously, as any other company, we have to meet the existing need in the community, trying to address these needs and to bring the turnout an idea into a product. So we need to take all the R&D and turning it out into a product, and to make that it can have impact in all the community, and obviously also to meet the requirement of the company itself. So basically, in this context, in the health system, there is a large and huge need for safer imaging techniques. And microwave basically are safe and can perform imaging in a totally safe condition. Basically, the same principle of microwave imaging can be applied to many different diagnostic scenarios, including the breast cancer detection that Dr. Rana showed before. So just before going into the description of the needs and the impact of the device, quick recap of what is and why a microwave imaging application works. Basically, microwave imaging works because there is a contrast in the electric properties between different conditions of tissues. For example, in breast, we have healthy tissues, cancerous tissues, and it has been shown in literature that this kind of tissues have contrast in both the electric and conductivity. So if we illuminate the breast using safe microwave antennas, and if we record the signal has inside itself the information of the contrast. And so if the inclusion is present, we can detect this inclusion. Now, why breast cancer application? What is the need that we need to address? Now, breast cancer is the most common cancer in the women worldwide, and to reduce its mortality rate, it's fundamental to perform breast screening. Screening is currently performed using mammography, but mammography has many limitations because it uses ionizing radiation, so it is not safe and it cannot be used in young women. So basically screening, it can be performed only between 50 and 69 years old, but approximately 20% of tumor happens in young women which has less than 50 years old. So basically, if we want to enhance breast cancer detection, early breast cancer detection, we have to overcome this limitation of mammography. In addition, mammography does not perform well with dense tissues, and also it requires breast compression. Instead, the product that we are developing, which is based on a microwave imaging augmented by artificial intelligence, is totally safe. It requires no breast compression, so it means that it can be used at any age and in any condition. And basically, so this gives a lot of benefits for customer, users, and obviously to the entire community. So, as I said, the process of translating research and development into a product, it's very long, time and investment consuming. Just to give you an idea, bringing a medical device into the market takes on average 7 years. So it's a huge time, which again requires a huge of investment. Obviously, if, as you can see from the picture, we started in 2015 with the first device, then we developed other device with augmented performance and also nicer design, and we achieved the CE mark. Now we are trying to put up to the this device, the artificial intelligence. Now, as Dr. Shuma said, augmenting devices with artificial intelligence may be again time and resources consuming. And so here comes with the collaboration with academic partner, and in this case with London South Bank University. And thanks to this collaboration, we can speed up this process. Obviously, this meets one of the main aims of ROVER, because ROVER aims also to exchange experience between SME and industry, so making the synergy between SME and academia stronger. And if this synergy is stronger, basically we can drive the transformation and make the transformation in the health that makes really happen into the system. For example, what we have in mind, like how we think the future health in this context of breast screening. You can see from this picture that the current market, I mean, the current sector of of women which now undergo in Europe to the screening program, it's approximately 67.5 million. But as I said, this is only limited to the age from 50 to 69. If this device comes really into the market, we can think to perform screening at any age. So the potential market are all the women. So basically, our future eHealth architecture will allow women to be safely pre-screened again at any age. Obviously, it may be some risk. For example, industry is not aware and is not happy to the introduction of a new device. But thanks to ROVER, thanks to the partnership with academic and key opinion leaders, all these things can be overcome. So, and again, not only this is just an example, but the same can be applied to many other applications. For example, brain stroke classification, bone fracture, and so on. The important thing is that SME continue to translate innovation into a product, and program like ROVER can really be very, very helpful to fulfill this. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Gianni, for your nice discussion, and this is very important also that you make the link between the SMEs and academia, which is one goal of this kind of projects. And this is a very important topic, as you mentioned. So we continue, and next we will introduce Ilangko Balasingham from Oslo University Hospital, and he will give us his ideas about future wireless implants and data analytics. So Ilangko, screen is yours, please.
Yes. Thank you. So can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great.
And see.
So great. Okay, thanks a lot. So so my talk is going to be about future wireless. I put the implants here because mainly I'm working on implants, and I will also talk a little bit about data analytics. So I'm coming from Oslo University Hospital, and also I'm working at NTNU in Trondheim. So thanks for this opportunity. So there was this slide or this picture, I think, in one of the early presentation, I think, given by Jari. So it's basically about, the body area network that pretty much everyone knows. This is about having sensors, and hopefully they can provide accurate information, whether it's going to be used for diagnosis, monitoring, or maybe to provide treatment. And I'm more interested in how these type of devices can be put inside, not on the body. So inside, then it becomes questions about how we can have extremely small devices, power efficient devices, communication possibility, and whether we could also go all the way down to the cellular level. So I will touch on all these three parts. Let me show you a little bit about the way that we are working, at least in my lab, that we have projects or research in electromagnetic sensors and communications. So it's basically using both radio communications. I will touch upon something called human body communications, and then I will talk a little bit about molecular communication at the end. And to do this work, we are teaming up with people from biology. So these are people mainly coming from synthetic biology, molecular biology, and stem cell biology. So there is a fairly large associate members in my team coming from this community. And also we have, in my team, we also have people working with integrated circuits. So this is basically to develop new implantable and ingestible sensor communications. And I will show you some examples when it comes to human medicine. Since I'm also a professor in signal processing, so my area is statistical signal processing. Machine learning is very close to my area. Then I will also talk a little bit about advanced machine learning or maybe deep learning as an example to solve a practical problem that we are facing in some of the projects that we have here. So 3 application areas: cardiac, gastro, and neural. So I don't have the time. I have only 10 minutes. So what I made actually is a small video. So let me see whether I can play this video and you can listen to this video.
Yes.
The scientists in the Wireless Sensor
Is it
Research
okay?
Group
Good.
at
Thank
the
you.
Intervention Center, Oslo University Hospital, and the Norwegian University of Science and Technology are working on different tracks to meet the need of today's digital healthcare and the Internet of Medical Things. Novel communication solutions to develop new nanomedical devices and implants, smart monitoring, diagnostic and decision support tools based on advanced signal processing and AI paradigm. Our team is creating devices and applications that are driving innovation from macro to nanoscale, achieving excellent results during trials and experiments. Our team is developing a real-time, deep learning-based detection application to automatically detect polyps in the gastrointestinal tract of patients using a camera capsule, even if the patient is remotely located. Once the capsule is swallowed like any other pill, it will start capturing and transmitting images of the gastrointestinal tract, which the AI analyzes. Our algorithms analyze the images and send feedback signals to the camera pill to improve image quality when anomalies are detected. Polyp detection in real time is an efficient clinical decision support tool to improve diagnosis and increase processing capacity. Besides advanced data analytics development, our team is creating solutions to overcome implementation challenges of such devices in terms of hardware design and communications. Cardiovascular disorders are another clinical example where our team provides novel monitoring and therapeutic solutions. We are developing an ultra-low power multinodal leadless pacemaker with capsules located in different heart chambers. When a heart beats irregularly, the pacemaker reacts to reestablish a regular pace. Robust communication among nodes and external devices plays a major role in reliable performance. We investigate different node communication paradigms, such as radio frequency communication and human body backscatter communication. We advanced machine learning algorithms to monitor heart status for early disorder prediction and pacemaker operation. The pacemaker design is improved based on computational modeling and preclinical studies. The ongoing projects also include biologically engineered communication systems. This work grounds on multidisciplinarity with the ultimate goal to understand the interaction among biological cells and harness this interaction for groundbreaking medical applications. An exemplary application is an advanced drug delivery to the well-protected brain regions. In collaboration with our partners, we engineer cells called bio-nanomachines, which have specific structure acquired via advanced machine learning algorithms to contain potent diagnostic and therapeutic molecules. Bio-nanomachines are covered with nanoparticles sensitive to specific wavelengths in the electromagnetic spectrum. When stimulated with signals from the external world, the nanoparticle presence evokes a series of physiological reactions that modulate cellular activity. Bio-nanomachines can also release therapeutic extracellular vesicles that contain potent cargo, which provides biocompatible and target-selective healthcare solutions. An intravenous injection of extracellular vesicles represents an alternative way of administration. The extracellular vesicles survive in the cardiovascular network, where they diffuse and eventually reach the target. They can even cross some of the most stringent barriers in the body, like the blood-brain barrier, and deliver their cargo to their target location. Our multidisciplinary research provides smart solutions through advanced technologies, which are fundamental for the evolution of healthcare system and MIoT. To learn more about our work, visit our website. Thank you for watching. If you want to know more about this topic, you are welcome to visit our website at www.
So thank you. So I think I will just very fast wrap up my talk. So we talked a little bit about this leadless pacemaker. So basically it's about multi-capsules inside and different type of communication solutions. So we are basically working on human body communications, radio frequency communication, and also using cardiomyocytes. So this is by cell-to-cell communication, how we can transmit digital information from one part of the heart to the another part. So as any other groups, we basically do computational models, and also we develop our own hardware solutions, as you see it here, and also test them in the phantom experiments, and finally also in animal experiments that I can do it in Oslo. So we do all these things. This is another one with the human body backscatter communication. So this means that I'm not using any active transmitter for transmitting data from one capsule to another one. So it's basically using a backscatter. So it's almost like an RFID, but this is actually working inside. And also we can, for example, work in extremely low data rates, especially when it comes to heart, and potentially these devices should last at least 12 to 15 years. We also have a similar example when it comes to the wireless capsule endoscope that I will come back to in a minute. So when it comes to this performance, as you see it, so pretty much, radio frequency is not very good. Even it's a very high efficient implementations available. So we prefer, for example, the human body backscatter communication working in 400 megahertz. And also the molecular communication. This is something quite like a future technology, human body backscatter communication that we have already implemented and tested and demonstrated in this application. So it's a near future technology. Let me also show you a little bit about the other application that we talked in this presentation. It's about this capsule endoscope. So traditionally, it's using colonoscope to look into the colon part to detect polyps. That this is potentially can develop into cancer. And the second part is basically using wireless capsule endoscopes. So they have actually a 2-camera system with a microcontroller and a wireless transmission unit working on a battery, and then it will be transmitting images. But unfortunately, they are low quality images, so it's not very well used when it comes to the colon. And now recently, we have been working with a company, and this is about using a magnetic assisted robotic capsule. Basically, you don't swallow it, but you insert it from the back here, and you can steer it with an external field. And this actually has a real-time high resolution image transmission. So when it comes to the AI part that I mentioned that I will be presenting a little bit about that, we use convolutional neural network when it comes to any kind of image processing or video processing applications. And the idea here is that extremely trained physicians, they miss 25% of the polyps. So the question is whether a computer can help them to, reduce this missed polyp rate from 25, maybe closer to 0. So that's about the problem. Here is some examples when it comes to the polyp. It's about the classification. We would like to also know exactly where it is. It's an object localization issue. There is also quite a lot of problem when it comes to polyps. They have different size, different shapes, texture, and colors. So this makes the issue with how to process them using deep learning methods. So convolutional neural network is the one that we have used. We were part of a big competition by this MICI. This is a medical imaging conference, the largest conference in the world. Fortunately, our team actually was the winner of this segmentation part when it comes to polyps. So we come very close to, as you see it here, 92%. All these things are done in a very transparent way with the data given by the organizers and also the inference also done by them. So when to do all this work, you need to have a very large team. Fortunately, I have a team of 18 members, and also I have 3 associate members coming from the United States with different backgrounds. So 2 of them are in molecular biology, molecular imaging, and also in extracellular vesicles. Thanks also to ROVER to funding part of the project, and also we have other projects also funding my research, mainly coming from EU, Research Council in Norway, and Health Southeast is the one that is owning our hospital. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Ilangko. And as the time goes fast, we will skip now to University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and Massimiliano Pierbon will discuss shortly about the molecular communications. So please, Max.
Perfect. Yes. Hi. Thank you. Let me change. Okay. Can you see my slide?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay. So thank you for this opportunity to talk during this webinar. My name is Massimiliano Pierbon. For whoever doesn't know me, I go by Max for everybody. What I will just briefly go through today is some ongoing work on my end, on my team, that connects very well with what Ilangko just explained. In fact, I want to connect to him with a concept of Internet of Bio Nano Things, which is a concept that I pushed forward with some of my collaborators some years ago. And then it spun out into different kind of works. And what I will present to you today is one of them, actually. Imagine the human body. Actually, it's not difficult after the amazing videos that we saw from Ilangko. And imagine not only to have the devices that Ilangko was explaining, but also have devices that are purely biological. And with that, I mean devices that maybe you wouldn't talk you wouldn't classify them as devices, but in fact they are made of programmable biological systems. And so it's already a reality that the possibility to reprogram our own immune system, to have artificial organ, to have a regeneration of tissues in the body, they are actually at the forefront of medical research, but also they are starting to be implemented more and more in clinical trials, and also engineer gut microbes. And so there is a fundamental question that is, if I have these devices that are programmed to do specific function, but they don't have electrical appendages, apart from neurons, of course, but normally, you cannot electrocute microbes in your gut, at least for a medical purpose for now. And imagine to have also the coexistence of electrical devices. So we have a brain implant, cochlear implant, and the pacemaker, of course, that we saw, but even insulin pumps, but also devices that are wearables, such as smartwatches. And the possibility to interface with the outer internet. Of course, that is also another problem, which is security, and we talked about that previously in this webinar. But in any case, imagine to have this interconnectivity of the electrical devices and wanting to have the same interconnectivity with biological devices. And so there is a big question mark that is here. How do we build an interface between biological devices and the electrical domain, where we would like to be able to send commands from our mobile devices, smartwatch, and maybe the doctor is triggering that, to, for example, have a certain immune system response, or we would like to communicate with the gut microbes to know if there are problems, especially if I have a chronic disease like the Crohn's disease. And so how do we think about this interface that actually transcend even this application and can go in other application domains very well? Well, from the very beginning of this question, trying to answer this question, my collaborators in University of Maryland College Park came up with the idea that to connect the two domains, we have to use biological processes where the exchange of electrons is made. And those processes are called redox processes, where molecules through chemical reaction actually exchange free electrons. So they are pretty much like conductors, where instead of having a metallic surface where the electrons are free to move within their band, in this case, molecules come in contact, and one molecule is a donor of an electron, another molecule is an acceptor of an electron, and I have a redox, so-called reduction oxidation chemical reaction. In particular, they theorized a device that realizes this interface in a very controlled and tight space, so practically a cell. And so what we came up with is a project that actually has been funded by the National Science Foundation and the Semiconductor Research Corporation, where we are working on building these devices. And in fact, we are working on making an array of these devices that is able to exchange signals between a biological substrate, which can be many things, and a electrical domain, and you see there electrical board, and you see there all the connections. What we did is studying this model from the theoretical perspective, and in fact, it's part molecular communication, part electrical devices and an electron, and we identified in, there is some delay. We identified in our project many different parts of the design, and we are tackling one by one, coming up with the final design that you saw for our project. And thanks to Rover, I can import some of this technology also, and I can work with other researchers around the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Max. This is also really interesting topic to go into very small scale systems. But time is running, so we will then move to Asian Institute of Technology and Attapongsta Parusanakorn. Please, screen is yours.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yes.
Okay. Can you see my slide?
Yes. Not
Okay.
slideshow yet, but slide is there. Yes. Now it's okay. And you can open your camera.
Thank you very much, Matti, for introduction, and thanks Rover to give this opportunity for me to give a talk in this webinar. I'm Attapongte Parasanakorn, just call me Pong. I'm going to present our work, which is in collaboration with University of Oulu, Finland, about in-body capsule endoscope localization. So I can say that the experience about conventional endoscopes is not really good. It's quite discomfort and painful, especially when we do it without anesthetic. I myself already experienced 2 times. That's more than enough. And also this conventional endoscope does not allow us to examine the whole gastrointestinal tract. And of course, it's not able to cover the entire small bowel. Thanks to the technology of wireless capsule endoscope, this can move towards non-invasive diagnostics of internal organs. We will be able to capture image of GI tract and wirelessly transmit the data to external receiver. To improve the quality of diagnostics and treatment, information on the localization of wireless capsule endoscope is crucial. The existing work of wireless capsule endoscope localizations are mainly based on triangulation using data such as the received signal strength or RSS, time of arrival, TOA, and angle of arrival, AOA. The accuracy of localization of triangulation method relies heavily on the existence of line of sight path. To solve this problem, we came up with the machine learning methods such as fingerprinting that can be used to solve the triangulation problem. Fingerprinting is based on the idea that observed signal parameters are unique to specific locations. Localizations is simply a fingerprint matching method, and line of sight path is not required. Deep learning is an emerging machine learning which has more than one hidden layer between the input and the output. The deep neural network can be used to reduce the dimension of fingerprint in the fingerprinting method. Instead of pattern matching, the deep neural network can also be used to generate a mapping model between the input, that is the signal parameters, and the output, that is the targets or the capsule location of complex systems such as in-body non-line of sight channels. So this figure shows the deep neural network design flow, starting from the data collection, that is channel state information that we obtain from the electromagnetic computers simulations, or CST, with various anatomical voxel models having different size and body constitution. The University of Oulu provides this data set for us, and that can make the localization of wireless capsule endoscope with deep learning possible. And then from the data collection, we pre-process the data and normalize the data to remove the outlier and noise. So we can start now to train the machine and fine tuning to optimize the network parameters. The models that we consider, we start from the simple multi-layer feed-forward network. And later on, we can consider also the convolutional networks and long short-term memory networks. And at the last box is, of course, is a location estimation. That is the location of the wireless capsule endoscope. For a deep learning model to achieve high accuracy, the training dataset must be sufficiently representative of the problem. But the problem is that to collect more data is quite time consuming and also difficult. So the solution of this problem is we gonna apply the so-called data augmentation that will be create artificially more data samples. And currently we use two strategies for data augmentations, including adaptive noise, that is adding the randomly generated noise to the channel. And the other one is channel augmentation. So it's kind of a convolute noise, adding randomly generated impulse response to the channel. So the in-body channel impulse response can be described based on the modified Saleh-Valenzuela model, referring to the literature below as the channel impulse response H of T is a summation of the power gain alpha K and the delta of T minus tau K. Tau K is the arrival time of the K path, and the difference or the time delay between two successive paths. The power gain well fit with the log normal distribution, and the arrival time excellently fit with the gamma distribution, and the time delay fit very well with the inverse Gaussian distribution. All of these statics are really useful to construct the channel impulse response model. So we have first to extract those statistic information. So here is the example that we obtained from the simulation. So first of all, we obtain the channel frequency response or the S21. And with the fast Fourier transform, we can obtain the channel impulse response in delay domain, right? And then we extract the statistic. Then we perform this augmentation. So at the location of capsule, we can expand the number of samples with this statistic. So as a preliminary experiment, we investigate 3 different locations inside the body, location 1, 2, and 4. And on the body, we have the ring antenna based on the location 2R. So as I said, each capsule location, we create 30 augmented data, which will be used for classification of the capsule location. So we apply a simple feed-forward neural networks at first, an input layer with 1001 nodes. It's corresponding to the number of sub-channel within 5 gigahertz. And we use the rectified linear unit activation function. And the hidden layer, we use only one hidden layer with 1001 nodes, and also with the rectified linear unit activation function. The output, of course, is correspond to 3 different locations with the softmax activation function. And we use the Adam optimizer. For the validation, we use k-fold cross validation for the train and validate the network. So with this preliminary experiment, we obtain the classification accuracy around 98%. But this high accuracy does not reflect the overall in-body capsule localization performance, as is only obtained from such a limited data set. Only one channel frequency response, or S21 per location, and then we augmented to 30 samples. However, it's good indication that we can use this deep learning technique to localize the app capsule location. So the future work, we plan to use more data, of course. We will be able to see if a simple feed-forward network is sufficient or not, or we need to use some other type of machine learning model, such as a convolutional neural network or the LSTM model. That brings to the end of my talk. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Pong. As the time runs, we will move to our last presentation given by Paul O'Brien from LROS 24/7. So Paul, please.
Thank you, Matti, and good afternoon, everybody. Can everybody see my screen okay?
Yes.
Excellent.
Perfect.
Okay, so what I would like to do is just round off this webinar by saying we've had a lot of really good presentations in terms of technology and different approaches. But obviously one of the key parts of the ROVER project is to exploit the IPR that's been developed by this project as we go through the duration of the project. And so what I want to do is just to talk a little bit about that today. Let me just explain a little bit about ALARIS. We are a UK-based health technology incubator and accelerator. We were created by clinicians and backed by private investors. And we're very unusual as a private company in that we have 3 NHS organisations that were involved in the formation of the company. And in the last 18 months or so, we've had a 4th NHS organisation, a commissioning organisation in the UK, has joined as a shareholder. So that's enough about ALARIS. In terms of this project, ALARIS is one of 3 private companies involved in the ROVER project with the aim of supporting the commercialisation and exploitation of the results. In terms of exploitation, we're looking not only to support academic colleagues with the exploitation of the results, but ALARIS will conduct an annual survey about this time each year, and will extend that on beyond the life of the project, and certainly take in at least the first year after this project is finished. In terms of the survey, we've structured around 15 questions, which we will ask the same questions each year. And we will use the results from the survey in 3 ways. Firstly, to support the ongoing evaluation of the project, which is quite important for us in terms of being able to demonstrate value for money with the EU and with the Commission. To determine the impact of the partnership working on the exploitation and commercialization of some of the exciting technologies that you've had described to you today. And finally, and not unimportantly, to assess the role of transnational working on the exploitation process itself. And clearly that's key here, where we are, we've had today speakers from across the world. So what I intend to do now is, obviously time is short, but I want to just give you an overview of the survey and look at 3 questions in particular that have been answered. The full results of the survey and the analysis will be available on the ROVER website before the end of 2020. But what I want to do is just to take you through some of the three of the 15 questions. And clearly what we're doing is using this year and this first survey as a baseline, and clearly what we'd hope to see, as you would imagine, as we go through the remaining years of this project and beyond the project, we would expect and would hope that one of the impacts of the project is that it actually changes participants' views about a number of the questions that we've asked them initially. So let me just give you the first of the questions that we've asked. So the first question was, what best describes your perception of commercialization work? And these are the different responses that we've had. As you can see, you know, quite interesting. I think at the bottom there, I don't fully understand what commercialization is. Yeah, that's over 10% of 11.76% of the total responses, and hopefully what we'd expect to see as we work through this project over the next 4 years is that hopefully that figure is reduced, and that some of the other lines in this particular question improve. And what we've done is obviously just to show you those results visually. So that's the first of the three questions that I'm going to present back to you today. Again, this is quite an interesting one. What approaches or routes have you worked on within commercializing research? And again, actually very good that we've got, you know, 40-odd% have been involved in spin-outs or spin-offs, but quite interesting that very few have been involved in joint ventures. And clearly this, as a company, we're heavily involved in finding different ways of helping to commercialize activity. So in the UK, we're working with 12 UK universities at the moment on a range of different projects with all sorts of different approaches. Clearly the spin-out or spin-off approach in the UK has probably run its course, I suspect, because clearly there are a lot of costs associated with setting up a spin-out or spin-off organization. And so some of the models around licensing, potentially joint ventures, or indeed putting IP into other vehicles that can actually absorb those costs is certainly something that universities in the UK have been looking at over the last year or so. And again, what we've attempted to do here is just to visualize those findings. And so it'll be interesting to see as we go through the 4 years of this project, how these different indicators change. And this is the third and final question and my penultimate slide. So this is a very straightforward question in terms of what benefits of commercialization have you perceived in your work? And again, incredibly important here, something wasn't really something we expected. Right in the middle there, esteem, 52%, nearly 53% of respondents said that actually esteem and improvement in their recognition and obviously the strengthening of their curriculum vitae was important. So what's quite interesting here, I suppose, is that there are all sorts of non-financial benefits of being involved in research that eventually is commercialized. So again, what will be interesting is to see how these change over the next 4 years of the project. So that's the final slide, and I want to make sure we finished on time. And obviously the full results of the 15 questions and the analysis of that will be available on the ROVER website before the end of the year. So that's the visualization of that third question. So thanks very much.
Okay, thank you, Paul. So this was our last presentation during this webinar. So now it's time for questions and answers for the questions. I see that currently the Q&A box is empty, but if you have now something to ask, use the QA box, or you can also, I think, use your mic. Is it correct, Hanna?
Yes, basically, we can allow people to talk as well if they wish. So if you want to ask a question verbally, you can just raise your hand.
Matti, Luigi speaking. Can I ask you one simple question?
Yes, please.
Okay. Essentially, the last speaker said that more like a business model issues, how to promote. In particular, this ROVER in between Europe and other countries like Japan and the US, how we can collaborate to make a global business. In fact, medical device need to have such a regulatory compliance to for us Japanese and also maybe Europe to get such a you know insurance, life insurance, medical insurance could be applied for most of the medical equips and medicine, right? But I'm not sure in the US. But anyway, the case that most of the case, the new technology used to have a risk still a lot. In particular, at this moment, the COVID-19 is a very timely subject. We have to contribute. In the case that vaccine also not enough safe, but we have to use it, right? Like that. Now, what in your case, like an implanted device or some other nano size of the something, obviously I'm a researcher. That's what I prefer to do it. But on the other hand, still the somehow not guaranteed there's such a safety yet. In particular, medical, radio case, like PON also say that, like a CSI and so on. But for us, the CSI or some other issue is good for the communication performance guarantee. But on the other hand, for the body safety, such as SAR, a specific absorption ratio, or electromagnetic compatibility issues, it's also contradictory. That's right. Now, why you are not taking care of that issue? Without solve such a problem, issues, you cannot sell it any other countries. In Japan, very tough. Take 2-3 years to get such a compliance, certificate for the medical device. Yeah, this is my question. Are you thinking really promote a business, just a research, just writing paper? That's it.
Okay, thank you. Your question, Kono-sensei. I think the electromagnetic issues, SARs, and those, they are really important issues. And as you are one partner in our project, you know that our goal is to develop very safe devices, and in our all actions related to very safe devices. So in that sense, you agree, and those we need to be taken into account in all levels, as well as security issues and such. But is there any issues from the panelists who would like to answer Kono-sensei's question?
Yes, maybe just to continue on that, what Matti said, that of course these are important and should be taken into account, and definitely will be done in parallel with the ROVER. So not everything is able to be covered during this, let's say, this project research plan point of view, but in parallel of that, of course, every partner is doing different other projects in which the other topics will be tackled. And of course, then we can take the input from ROVER results and vice versa. if there comes some limits, then we have to take those into account in the coming years in our research.
Correct. Any other, for example, Gianni, are you as a company representative? Would you like to say something?
Yes. Yeah, no, that is very interesting point. And actually, we are facing this in the development of our device because, for example, our device has just obtained the CE marking. Basically, it allows to sell in throughout Europe. Obviously, if we want to enter into other markets such as US, China, Japan, we have to follow all the regulatory. And obviously, this is very time consuming and also expensive. So this will be done step by step because especially for a small company, it's very difficult to enter worldwide immediately. Obviously, thanks to ROVER, what we can gain is we can increase the knowledge on how to do it. For example, I'm sure that thanks to a relation with you, we can know better what are the regulatory process in Japan, and this can help all the steps.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
You know that I'm somehow charging for you, but you know, I myself also asking myself, same size I standing on.
Yes.
But anyway,
it will be a pleasure.
At the moment, like COVID-19 in Japan, such a promotion, to use eHealth or remote medicine, speeding up because necessity is increased much. This is also the great opportunity or chance for us to speed up this promotion. For instance, that you mentioned like nano size of the analysis could be also measured as such a virus level and so on. That what I think we can also focus on some specific application like combat with COVID-19 or some other, how to prevent such a pandemic and so on. That's also for us in Japan, for instance, we have a more chance to get such a budget more. And then many companies also, supporting more. If this is a great opportunity for the business as well.
Yeah.
Okay. And then in academia, also many special issues in the journal also focusing. Yeah. Yeah. In this ROVER project, hopefully the Europe and the other country can more communicate for the business using our research result.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your comment, and definitely we will continue this ROVER webinar series, and this commercialization is one of the issue we can cover during the next events. So meanwhile, you can follow our work using those links which are now available in the screen. Unfortunately, time is now running and we need to close this first ROVER webinar. So I will thank you all the speakers and all the attendees, and I hope that you will join us during the next webinar, which will be then marketing in our website and using the other channels. So thank you very much and good day.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.